what am I doing? I am testing the little tachometer on the Ford 2000 tractor. And the reason I'm doing this is, it was working, and then my original cable broke. And so it twisted off. So I didn't see anything wrong with it. I could turn there, it wasn't froze up or anything. And I put a new cable in it, and I could tell with the new cable, every once in a while it would bind up. It was like you could hear the cable kind of, like it got caught and it was binding, and then it would break free and the needle would jump. And so I disconnected the cable. I didn't want to break it. And I took this thing back apart, oiled it all up, put it back, and it was still doing it. And so took it off again, oiled it all back up, and ran it a bunch with the drill. Never could get it to bind up. Put it back in, and it ran for a little bit, and it bound up again. And I just had the gauge like this, and it just started twisting the gauge over. It was just spinning the whole gauge, the whole tach over. I killed the tractor real quick, pulled it back off, and now I'm just running it. But I mean, I've got this thing all oiled up, and I cannot get it to bind up when it's running off the drill. I don't know what the deal is. I don't know if there's, I varied the RPM. Maybe we need to slow it down a little bit. Maybe that's what it is. Let's see. We'll run it right there for a little while. See if we can get it to bind up. Yeah, I don't know what the deal is. Definitely don't want to break my cable, but I've oiled this thing like crazy. You can see how oily it is. And it's just I'm using a real light, machine oil. I don't know. We're gonna see what it does. I definitely don't want to break this cable off. And the voltage stabilizer I bought off eBay is no good. You can see all the oil where I've had it running, and you can see where it kind of started spinning over, kind of scratched a little bit. But voltage stabilizer I got off eBay doesn't work. It's just passing 12 volts through it. It's doing nothing. So the gauges are still not reading correctly. I need to do some testing on my fuel gauge. I've checked it with the ohm meter. It does seem to be working. The ohms do change. I got a piece of wire in there and hooked the float, raise it up and down, and I was seeing some variance with the voltmeter in the ohms. So I think it's working. So hopefully once we get a good voltage stabilizer in, it'll work. Right now, the gauges aren't working correctly. They're getting too much voltage, and hopefully they'll work once we get a good voltage stabilizer. This is the original one, and it's just toast. It's not working. It's passing straight voltage through as well. Let's go check on this again. It's working just fine, but you put it in the tractor and it binds up. Maybe it's some bearing in it, causes it to bind. Or how the cable does this a little bit, maybe a steady speed. It's not messing up, but one of the times I pulled it up, I mean, it was, you can see all the oil dripping there. It was locked up, and I had to turn it backwards just a little bit to get it freed up. And I can't tell, I don't know if one of the gears in it, I don't know if it's locking up on the shaft here, or one of the gears maybe could be missing a tooth, and if it gets just right, or it's got some variance in it, and if it comes over, it locks it up on the tooth of the gear. I don't know. If it keeps doing it, what I might do is tear it further apart and see if I can maybe take the gear off that runs the hour meter and see if it still does it. And if it does, I might just disconnect the hour meter for right now. But I was hoping just, you know, running it might make it start working, you know, get it all good and lubed up and get that oil all throughout, but I don't think it is. Speed a little bit. And what I've got here is my cable that broke. I cut the end off of it. Cut a piece of the end off of it with those squared ends. So I made a little, and just tucked it up in the drill. And the hours are working. I think I started at 7 p.m. And we were at 1, and it rolled this one over. So the hour meter is working. I don't know. We'll just keep running it and maybe it'll start working. Once again, it bound up, and I think I found the issue. So if you look in there, I don't know if you're gonna be able to see. Come on. See that gear? See the teeth on it? They are not only pretty worn down, they're also twisted. So I'm thinking that it's binding up on this end down here, and it has twisted those gears when it locks up. So I'm thinking right in there it's binding up, or it could be binding up right in here. So the question is, what do we do about that? So I could drill those rivets out. It's about the only way I can get in there to do anything with it. Yeah, I think that's what's happening. Either that, or this thing could be floating up and down and getting out of where it's supposed to ride. But I think the solution right now is to find a way to disable the hour meter. And I'm not sure I can do that without destroying it. The best thing to do would be to get it apart. I'll probably go ahead and just drill those rivets out, and then I can get this thing hopefully apart. I don't know if it'll come apart or not. I'm trying to see that. See, I'm thinking it's not going to. I don't know. I'm not sure how that comes apart. So I guess let me drill those rivets out, and we'll go from there. All right. So got it apart. Yeah, just drilled those two rivets off, the heads of the rivets off, or the ends of the rivets off. We'll either put screws back in it or rivet it back in. And here's what we've got. Whoop. To make sure we put that back. But one of these gears is probably binding up. And you can see what I was talking about on that one. See the teeth on it? They're kind of twisted. So I think our best bet, I don't see any reason why that would bind up as far as, you know, it being bad or anything like that. So I think what we're going to do is just take this gear out. I think if we take this little metal plate off there, then we can probably slip this gear out, and we're just going to disable that for right now. The other, it's possible it's worn in here and this is binding up, you know, but I don't think there's any fixing this thing, or it could just be that those teeth are just worn so bad. Or like I said, this shaft could be, that shaft's not moving up and down, so I don't know. Like I said, it's got oil, it's been oiled like crazy, and it is still binding up. This gear up here looks to be in good shape, and this here is in good shape. These all turn freely. This one's not supposed to turn, so I don't see any issue on this. So I'm pretty sure it's either this gear or slop in here. The top half, look at it. Where does that gear go? It rides in that hole there. It doesn't look wallowed out compared to that side, maybe slightly. So like I said, we're just going to disable the hour meter for now, and later on we'll buy a new cluster probably. That's probably going to be our best bet. I'm going to say I'm fairly certain it's this gear right here. It's just so worn out that it's getting jammed up. I don't see anything on these others. You know, they look to be in good shape. That's just grease right there. So I'm going to leave these two out. I'll put them in a Ziploc baggie, put them in my toolbox. So I just pulled this little piece out, and then that gear slipped out, and we'll put that back in and put this thing back together. And I'll just probably put some screws. I think I can get some screws in here, and then we'll put this thing back together. Either screws or I'll rivet it back in. Alright, so I just riveted this thing back together. Just some aluminum rivets. So that should be good. We've got those two gears out, and so now we don't have a working hour meter, but we'll have a tachometer that will not bind up. And right now that's the goal, is to have a working tachometer so I can see the RPMs. I think 1900 is where it needs to be for 540 PTO, 540 RPM PTO. And so that was my main reason for wanting to get the tach working, was so when I mow I can have the RPMs set correctly. For the hour meter, Um, we'll either just do annual maintenance on it, or I can add an aftermarket one that just starts counting, like a little digital one that starts counting when the key's on. Just put that under the hood or something. But probably we'll just leave it disconnected and just do yearly oil changes. There's no and clean out the filter, and probably do a fuel filter as well. Clean out the air filter and do a fuel filter as well. There's no way I'll get enough hours in a year that doing a oil change every year. I won't be. There's no way I'll be going over the hours, so we should be good there. But I just need to put the two little screws back in here, and then I'll reassemble the rest of the gauge and kind of wipe it down. I've gotten some grease on the face of it. We'll wipe that off. This thing's just so oily. So let me get it all back together, and I'll put it back in, and we'll be good to go. Alright, so I just riveted this thing back together. Just some aluminum rivets. So that should be good. We've got those two gears out, and so now we don't have a working hour meter, but we'll have a tachometer that will not bind up. And right now that's the goal, is to have a working tachometer so I can see the RPMs. I think 1900 is where it needs to be for 540 PTO, 540 RPM PTO. And so that was my main reason for wanting to get the tach working, was so when I mow I can have the RPMs set correctly. For the hour meter, we'll either just do annual maintenance on it, or I can add an aftermarket one that just starts counting, like a little digital one that starts counting when the key's on. Just put that under the hood or something. But probably we'll just leave it disconnected and just do yearly oil changes. There's no and clean out the filter, and probably do a fuel filter as well. Clean out the air filter and do a fuel filter as well. There's no way I'll get enough hours in a year that doing a oil change every year. I won't be. There's no way I'll be going over the hours, so we should be good there. But I just need to put the two little screws back in here, and then I'll reassemble the rest of the gauge and kind of wipe it down. I've gotten some grease on the face of it. We'll wipe that off. This thing's just so oily. So let me get it all back together, and I'll put it back in, and we'll be good to go.